Welcome back to Chronicles on the Focus, the podcast that delves into the fascinating details often missed in history books and artist biographies. I'm your host, Bob, and with me as always is the insightful Alice.
Hi everyone. Today, Bob, we're tackling a truly iconic figure, George Washington. Beyond the cherry tree and the presidency, there's a whole lot more to this founding father.
Absolutely, Alice. Most people know him as the first president, the commander of the Continental Army. But his life was a wild rollercoaster ride before he even stepped into the Oval Office, or, well, whatever equivalent existed back then. He was a surveyor, a military man, and a surprisingly fashionable dude.
Fashionable? Really? I always pictured him in that stern, stoic portrait pose. Tell me more.
Well, while he might have had that serious public image, apparently young George was quite the social butterfly. He even meticulously copied a French etiquette guide, creating his own rules of civility, 110 rules for proper social interaction. Talk about a dedicated young man. Imagine him practicing his bows and curtsies.
Laughing, I can't quite picture that. But it does make him a bit more relatable, doesn't it? It's amazing he even found time for that alongside his surveying. Did you know he was a really successful surveyor? He made a decent amount of money that way before the war.
He absolutely was. He was practically a land baron in the making. Speaking of making money, let's not forget his time in the French and Indian War. He wasn't just some desk jockey general. He saw real action, fought bravely, and even contracted smallpox during a trip to Barbados, which, by the way, left him with some pretty noticeable scars. Imagine that.
Wow, quite the adventurous young man. And that's just his early life. We haven't even gotten to the Revolutionary War yet. The sheer determination he showed leading the Continental Army, facing such immense challenges, a ragtag bunch of soldiers against a world power.
And let's not forget the incredible tension during his presidency. Walking that tightrope between Jefferson and Hamilton, two incredibly strong personalities, clashing ideologies. He managed to hold it together remarkably well, setting a precedent for the peaceful transfer of power that we often take for granted today.
Exactly. He was a master diplomat, a skilled politician, and, incredibly, he even set the precedent for the presidential two-term limit. Though, perhaps he should have known better than to assume it would be followed.
Chuckles, true. And his farewell address? Pure gold. Solid advice on national unity and avoiding foreign entanglements. Words that still resonate today. A true statesman, even if he did have some questionable views on slavery.
A complicated legacy indeed. But even with his flaws, he remains an undeniable figure in American history. A man who, despite his shortcomings, shaped a nation. And that, my friends, is something worth remembering. That's all the time we have for today's episode of Chronicles on the Focus. Join us next time for another fascinating deep dive.